So to start today's video, I'm going to use the Farsali Unicorn Essence Drops. I've already washed and moisturized my skin, so we're just prepping or priming to get ready for foundation. So I'll put, and then I'm just going to rub that in. My hands are clean, of course. So now I'm going to go in with the Tarte Hybrid Gel Foundation. So I'm just going to take a small amount and put it on my palette. I'm going to use some brushes that I found at Walmart. They're like a super duper cheap version of the Artiste brushes. I actually just started using these within the last month, I guess. And they actually do work really well, but it doesn't absorb the product like a beauty blender does. It makes it go a whole lot farther. And I have actually noticed that these brushes, Walmart has started selling like 3-packs of them. I don't know if it's the super duper big one like I'm using now, but they do have the other larger sized one. So to tell y'all a little bit about myself and why I'm doing this, many years ago I went to beauty school. I did not go for hair. I went for aesthetics, which is skincare. My sister told me, Meredith, you need to go to school to do makeup. You're so good at it. Da, da, da. I had just finished culinary school, and I didn't feel like that was really what I learned there was not really what I wanted to do. So I'm like, okay, what am I looking for? So I found a school in Northwest Louisiana. I finished all of my hours. I did not finish all of my course requirements to go get my state board. So I am not a licensed esthetician. I'm currently going to school for business to be a manager. That's something else I've always wanted to do, was be the boss. So that's why I am doing this, is to try and get myself into the whole makeup scene. My goal is if I can reach a couple hundred people on here, I'll just start posting the videos here and on YouTube, because I do already have the platform started. I just haven't done any videos to post there. So we're looking okay. This foundation, it really is not my favorite. I don't know why I decided to use it today. I guess because I haven't used it in a while. But now I'm just going in and brushing some of that extra foundation out of my eyebrows. So now I am going to go in. How many of y'all knew that Michael's Craft Store sold makeup? I'm going to use a Michael's version of a beauty blender. It was like $3 or $4, I think. You can use your 40% coupon on it, so you don't have to even spend that much on it. Whenever you get it wet, it's this big. It's huge. It gets super duper fat, but it's super duper dense. It's really almost the same consistency or texture of a beauty blender. So far I'm not mad at it. So I'm just going to go back in and pat out that foundation. Make sure I don't have any thicker spots, lines, any of that kind of stuff. As you could see, whenever I started this video, I do have acne prone skin. I have combination skin, so I'm oily in my T-zone, dry in my cheek areas. Now I'm going to go in with concealer. It is the Tarte Shape Tape in Fair. So I start First, by making sure that my foundation has not set into my fine lines under my eye. I'm going to go in and put one stripe here, one there, one underneath. Get some of that extra that I wiped off. Go in here, here, here. Center of the nose, center of the forehead. And I go in right there in that dimple under my chin, my Cupid's bow. That's usually about it. And I take a, I don't remember what brand this is, but it's just one of the really tiny beauty blenders. And I just go in and pat it out, smooth it out. And just make sure that everything blends nicely, that there's no like distinct lines where you're blending it out on your actual cheek. Take any extra, just blend that in really well. It's important whenever you're doing the center of your nose to make sure that your line is straight, because you don't want to end up looking like you have a crooked nose. And then I'm going to take that same sponge that I was just blending my concealer with, and I'm going to take my Coty Airspun. I'm just going to take that and bake. Just press it in really good. One thing you don't want to do is you don't want to look like you have a really dry, powdery under eye. But you want this concealer to be set really well, so that way you don't have to worry about creasing. And this sponge that I'm using is damp as well. I'm only going to put powder under my eyes for now. So next I'm going to go in, eyeliner to use for this is going to be the Urban Decay 24-Hour Waterline in Legend. This is like my holy grail for an eyeliner. Yes, I'm closing my eyes while I do my eyeliner, because otherwise I have a hard time and my eye twitches a lot. I'm not a big fan of eyelid liner because my eyes are so far set back, deep set, and this actually gives me more definition on my lashes too. And I don't take my eyeliner all the way in to the inner corner. Then I'm going to go in and do my brows. I have the Anastasia Beverly Hills brow pencil, which that's what I'm going to use today. But I also have a dupe for that, which is L'Oreal Brow Stylist Definer. I use brunette in that, but in the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Wiz, I use medium brown. Let's see that. Hopefully it'll focus. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a spoolie. Not that one. And just brush my brow hairs up. So now I'm just going to go in and line the bottom, starting very lightly at the inside and making my way back. And I do it light the first time. It looks really dark on camera, but it really is pretty light. I like a very defined brow as far as like the point. So I have a tendency to do more of that kind of a brow than just the naturally curved arch. And I'm actually going to go in with the spoolie end and brush down my hairs now. I try not to get it to where I have to go in necessarily and define with concealer, which I'm not trying to do that today. So I'm just going to go into my arch and connect. down to the bottom. And I'm just gonna go a little bit further back for the top and go to where those, the very edge of those brow hairs. And just draw that in. Like I said, I like a more defined arch, so I'm gonna point it a little more. And I'm gonna go back in and brush those hairs up, so that way I can start getting my little fine hair-like strokes. And I do kind of angle back instead of up, like a lot of people do, because my hairs do not go straight up. They go back. So I'm trying to make it look a little more natural. Just go back in, make sure everything's blended. And you want the beginning of your brows to be a little more faded in and not so dark. And I'm just going to go in and do the same thing on the other side. Brushing up. Make sure you get any dry skin that may be under your brow hairs, because that just can make everything not look quite so crisp and precise. This time I'm actually going to go in top first, so I'm brushing all the hairs down. And I did just wax my eyebrows. If you guys want to see me actually wax my own eyebrows, of course, leave a comment. I'm really tempted to do that for you. So there are my brows. I think they look pretty good. I'm gonna go back in with my Wet n Wild eyeshadow primer. I know some people are very, oh, primers are just another gimmick to get you to spend money, da 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 da. Maybe face primers, I don't think so personally, but some people do, and to each their own. I mean, everybody's different, everybody has their own preferences. These directions and things that I'm giving you guys are just my personal experience, or products that I've found that work best for me, or that I prefer, or I may just be trying them out new. But to each their own. Not everybody's going to be the same. Not everybody has the same skin concerns or things like that. So this is an eyeshadow primer. I'm not very fond of it. It's very thin. And this brush is a Max Coverage Concealer brush from ID Bare Essentials. I think it came in a beauty subscription box. I don't know, because I think it came from a family member. They gave it to me because they didn't use it. But this this eyeshadow primer, at first, maybe I just had a little bit too much, but it was very wet. It's pretty tacky though, so I can't complain about that. And go in with what's left on this brush and try it maybe on this eye. Maybe a little less product will be better. And I'm just blending that in over the whole eyelid. And just patting it in. I prefer using like a concealer brush or some kind of synthetic bristle brush like this, just because to me it's easier to get in there than like trying to use your finger. I know warming up the product with your body heat between your fingers is beneficial for some things. I just have a hard time getting into like my inner corner using my finger. So I found a concealer brush or some kind of synthetic brush like that actually works quite well. Alright, so now we're going in with the Melissa Michelle collab that she did with Ulta Beauty. So what I'm gonna do is first I'm gonna go in with Wheezy, this shade right here. And I'm just gonna go all over the lid. I go in and set my primer first, and I usually do it with an all over shade, so it's usually something lighter. You can see this is like a golden camel, but it's a very light camel color. And I'm just placing that all over the lid. This palette does have a lot of kickback. I don't know if you can see really, but whenever I go in, see it kind of, but it doesn't have a lot of fallout. That's what's kind of strange to me. Now I'm going to go in with the Urban Decay brush that came with the Naked Heat palette. I'm going to go in with the fluffier end. And I'm going to dip it into Bing Bing right here, this reddish brown. I'm going to place that in my crease. So I'm going to bring the Bing Bing up pretty high on my brow bone, which later I'll go back with a highlighting shade. But I'm just placing that right in the crease, using small circles to blend it out. I am actually kind of pushing this up to my brow, but like I said, I'll go back in with the highlighting shade at my brow afterwards to give it more of that definition. Now I'm gonna go back in with a slightly smaller brush than that one I used before. Again, it's that same off-brand. It's a blending buff brush. It's a little bit smaller. And I'm gonna go in with Harley, this dark shade right here. And I'm gonna place that on the outer corners. So far, these shadows blend pretty well, which I am gonna bring that just in the crease, not any further up in towards the inner corner. There we go. That's what we're working with so far. Doing the same thing on this eye. And I'm just using small back and forth motions. Not really any circular, just side to side. One thing you want to be most concerned about whenever you're working with your eyes or your contour is blending, because you don't want any harsh lines. And any kind of looks you guys want to see, just let me know. Like, you can send me pictures, private messages, or anything like that. I also have a Pinterest page. I have Instagram. I have a Twitter account. But everything's under Plethora Beauty, so that way you guys could find me a little easier. I just touched this eye up with a little bit more of the Bing Bing, and I'm going back in on this side with the Harley to make them even. Now I'm going to go in with Terracita, this gold full-like shade. Tap off any excess and place it right in the center of the lid. Again, I'm just placing this and I'm just tapping, lightly tapping this on the center of my lid, being sure to get right there at the base of the lash line. And just working my way up, just lightly tapping. So there's that. I'm gonna go back in with a little bit of this Lola right here, with just in the inner corners to kind of brighten that back up. First, I'm gonna go back in though with that first brush I used into Wheezy, kind of dab that right there just to brighten it up again. I will go in with the other end of that Naked Heat brush, that flat end, and I'm just going to pick up some of that Lola and place it right in the inner corner. And I do bring my inner corner highlight out a little more, just so that way it gives more definition in that inner corner. Okay, now I'm going to go back in with Bing Bing again on the bottom lash line with that same brush I was just using. And just running that all along the bottom lash line to the inner corner. And as you can see, I've got liner from where I tight lined my top lashes that has rubbed off onto my bottom waterline. I personally like that effect, and that way I don't have to go back and do a full dramatic dark bottom lash or dark bottom eyeliner. Now I'm just going back in with Harley on that very, very outer corner. Now, because I've got a darker set of shadows on, I'm going to take my, where are you? Sigma Tapered Blending Brush E40, and I'm just going to work all that in together, including the bottom lashes, just kind of blending that all in also. Now after I get this blended to where I want it, I will go back in with the Lola at my brow bone, just as a highlight for that. I'm going to go in with the brush that I used for the Terracita, that gold color, and I'm going to just use that to put my highlight on my brows. See? I'm just placing it right there underneath my brows at the top of that brow bone, so whenever the light hits it, you can see. For mascara, I'm not putting lashes on today. I haven't put them on in years. I'm not attempting to do that on camera. But for mascara today, I'm using the Benefit Bad Girl Bang. Yes, it is a mini size. Anything that I'm wanting to try, if I can find it in a mini first, that's how you'll see me using it on here, because I don't want to go and spend $30 on a mascara and not like it. So anything, no matter what it is, if I can find it in a little mini travel or trial size or whatever in store, that's how I'm going to purchase it before I go out and buy the full size. One thing about this Bad Girl Bang, it does make my lashes define, but it's pretty bad about clumping for as thin of a formula as it is. It also bleeds really bad. Now I'm going to go in for my bottom lashes with the Voluminous Lash Paradise from L'Oreal. I've seen or heard people talk about how fantastic this mascara is. Not for me. As a bottom lash mascara, it's great. But otherwise, no thank you. I was not impressed the very first time I used it. Like, it barely coats my lashes. Like, you can't hardly tell I have on mascara. There we go. Completed eye look. So the only contour palette that I actually have a cheap brand that my mom got at like Marshall's or something. But it's my girl, Kat Von D. Her Shade and Light contour palette is like, you will find that I have a lot of Kat Von D stuff. I don't know why I love her so much, but I do. I think she's fantastic. I'm going to go in with the shade Subconscious for my contour. And I use a Sigma tapered highlighter F35 to do my contour. And you want to go in underneath your brow, your cheekbones, to give it that sunk in kind of definition. I always start at the temple, right there kind of at the corner of my eye, and I'll suck my cheeks in like a fish and just blend down. And this is really important that you get the right shade. You want to go about 2 shades darker for your contour and 2 shades lighter for your highlight, like whenever you're using your concealer and stuff. And I also have a round face shape, so I'm widest at my cheekbones. And what I was taught in beauty school was that the ideal face shape is an oval. So I try and really define right in here where I'm my widest, and then I'll go back and kind of highlight it right above my eyebrows later. Then I'm going to go along my jawline. Blending is detrimental whenever it comes to doing your contour, because you're using a darker shade, so you really want to make sure everything blends well. There's no harsh lines or anything like that. Okay. Now I'm just going to take the tip of that brush, same brush, and I start by kind of just tapping where I want my contour on my nose, and then I'll go back in a second and blend it out. And I don't always get my blend perfect, so that's whenever, if I'm having a hard time getting something right, I'll go back in with like my powder brush with a little loose powder and just kind of buff it a little more. Now I'm going to go right underneath my bottom lip, because as you can tell, I don't have much lips. So I'm going to try and make my bottom lip look fuller by contouring underneath. And now I'm going to go back in with my Airspun and set my face. And you guys, I want y'all to be totally honest with me, like what y'all think I can improve on or whatever. I know there's probably going to be a lot of times that there's going to be like an awkward silence, because I'm not a big talker. So that's probably going to be the hardest part for me, is just not making y'all sit and watch me in an awkward silence. Now I'm going to take my big buffer fan brush, it's super fat, and just kind of dust any extra stuff off. Then I will go in with my BH Cosmetics blush palette, nude blush palette. I picked this up at Target this year for Christmas. And I'm going to go in with a Fleur de Vie powder brush. And I don't think this has shades. Yeah, this doesn't have shades on it. So I'm just going to go in with this kind of, it looks yellow in the thing, but it's more of like a peachy blush, and these blushes are really pigmented, so it doesn't take a whole lot. For my eyes or my face shape, I don't want to get too far in towards my nose, so I usually have to kind of look straight on and start in the center of my pupil. But then I also have big cheeks, so I kind of have to cover that apple right there whenever I'm putting my blush on. Now I'm going to come in with my Omrizi highlighter. I wore this for the first time yesterday, and oh my Lanta, look at it. Like, for real, look at it. Just, if you can, look at it. It's so beautiful. Look. Look at it. Okay. Now I will take a unbranded fan brush, and I'm just gonna kind of sweep over the top of that. Look at it. It's so pretty. And just hit the highlights of my cheekbones, or the highlights, the high points. Y'all see it? Just hitting the top of my Cupid's bow. Same places, kinda, that you put your highlighter. You want to hit the very tip of the nose, the tops of the cheekbones. You may want to hit, like, kind of right above your brows a little bit. I wouldn't hit very heavy there, because you don't really want to look like a glow monster. And I'm going to go in with the Buxom Blushing Margarita Lip Gloss. This is supposed to be a lip plumper. It doesn't do that for me. Let me do some setting powder and we will finish this baby up. I'm going to take the NYX Matte Finish Finny Matte Long Lasting Setting Spray. I'm just going to apply that everywhere. This is the finished look. Alright, you guys, thanks for tuning in. I can't wait to do this for you again. And leave your comments. Tell me what you think, what you liked, what you didn't like, what you'd like to see. Any and everything is welcome. I promise. This is new, so I'm definitely up for learning and trying to do what you guys want to see. So thanks for tuning in. To follow me if you think they'd be interested. Love you.